All right, good morning, boys and girls. Happy Tuesday. Today is April 14th, and it is day 17 of NTI instruction. And so we're going to continue on to lesson 6 today. I actually just have a lesson 6 problem set video. It's very similar to yesterday's lesson, except you might notice a couple things on here. Tell me what you all noticed about today's lesson. Yes, instead of counting by whole numbers on the grid lines or counting by fractional parts on the grid line, they're counting by decimals. And so that's what we're going to be focused on today. So I'm going to walk through the problem set with you. If you want to pause the video and go ahead and try some of these, I want you to go ahead and do that. And you can copy this down onto your paper, on your notebook. And those of you who do not have Google Classroom, you can actually do this on the paper. So go ahead and pause the video, and they want you to plot the following points and label them on the coordinate plane. So you're plotting point A, B, C, and D, and then you continue following these instructions all the way down, okay? And see, yesterday we talked about being parallel, and so you're actually going to create line segments today instead of lines. So very, very similar to yesterday. So if you want to pause the video and practice, now's the time. All right, so now that you've had a chance to practice, we're going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to plot point A, which says 3/10 and 1/10. Okay, so of course I'm reading these decimals correctly. We're not going to say 0.3 and 0.1. This is 3/10 and 1/10. So we always start at our origin and we travel on the x-axis first. So if this is 5/10, this is going to be 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, and then you have 5/10. So I'm trying to write as small as I can to fit those. It's kind of hard to write it in between. And so we have 3/10, 1/10. So we're going to travel on the x-axis to 3/10 and up 1 to 1/10. So that's where our point A is going to go. Okay. And so I'm going to write that right here beside it. And then point B says 3/10 and 7/10. So it looks like our x coordinate is the same for point A and point B. So we have 3/10 up to, so we have 1/10, 2/10, 3, 4, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10. So there is where 7/10 would be. And we're going to label it point B. And then we're going to look at point C and D. So what did you notice about the coordinates for point A and B? Yes, the x coordinates are the same. What do you notice about the coordinates for point C and D? Yes, the y coordinates are the same. So for point C, we're going to do, it says 2/10, 9/10. So start at the origin, traveling to 2/10 and going all the way up to 9/10, which would be right below the whole number 1 there, 1 and 0/10. Okay, so that would be point C. All right, and now we have point D is 4/10, 9/10. We're going to go over to the 4/10 on the x and up to the 9/10 there, 9/10. If you notice, they should be on this. They're going to end up being on the same horizontal line there. And A says use a straight edge. Remember, we can just use the grid lines. We don't have to actually use a ruler or a side of a piece of paper or the side of a folder to create our lines. We can just use the grid lines. To construct line segments AB and line segment CD. Now, you all have actually seen this before from when I taught you all and Miss Millay taught you all in the classroom whenever we did online field testing. So line segment AB. And remember, those end at the end point, so they do not continue with arrows at the end. So these are line segments. Remember, piece of a line, part of a line. Line segment means a piece or a part. And then we have line segment CD, okay? And now we're going to answer some questions about those. So it says, so we're done with all of this one, done with this one. B says, line segment blank is parallel to the x-axis. So here's our x-axis, and we talked yesterday about being parallel, was that they didn't intersect. So if I am parallel to this axis, I need something that goes the exact same way, a horizontal line. So that's going to be line segment CD. So line segment CD, and I don't have to put the symbol above it. I mean, I guess I could. Line segment CD is parallel to the x-axis and perpendicular to the y. So if this were to continue with the y to meet the y-axis and intersect, they would form right angles. And then it says line segment blank is parallel to the y-axis. So parallel to the y, we would want it to fall just the same. And so that ends up being line segment AB. And it says is perpendicular to the x. And that is true. If AB were to continue, it would intersect perpendicularly with the x-axis and would create right angles there. Awesome. So letter D says, so we're done with B and C. It says plot a point on line segment AB that is not at the endpoints and name it U. So we're going to plot a point on line segment AB, and it says not on the endpoints, and name it U. So we're going to name that U. Write the coordinates. So what do we know about the coordinates of A and B? Yes, they have the same x coordinate, so we know no matter what, if there's a point on that line segment, it's going to have the same x coordinate. So, and we are correct, x coordinate 3/10 up to right before 5/10 would be 4/10 right there, okay? And then it says plot a point on line segment CD and name it V, okay? So we're going to plot a point on line segment CD and name it V. All right, so I'm just I guess I'm going to put it right there. I don't really have a whole lot of choices. And what do we know about the coordinates of the line segment CD? What do we know was the same? That's right, the y coordinate. So we know the y is going to have to be 9/10. So let's check out. So we got to get our x coordinate. So start at the origin. Travel, we're looking at my point V there, so it looks like it's 3/10 up to 9/10. So remember that was our 9/10. We have 3/10, 9/10. And that's really it today. So the only difference was you were working with decimals on your axes, the x-axis and the y-axis, and you were also talking again about being parallel or perpendicular to the x-axis and y-axis. We also didn't create lines, construct lines today. We constructed line segments. So just a couple new things today for you to write down if you want to. If not, you know, lesson 6 is very, very similar to lesson 5. So I hope this problem set was enough. All right, so if you're in Google Classroom, you're moving on to lesson 6 homework Google form. And if you are at home with the papers, you're moving on to lesson 6 homework with your paper. All right, see you later, guys. Have a great day.